Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Venkateswarlu, working as Assistant Professor in Department of MBA, MITS College, Madanapalli. In this session, we are going to see the concept of selection and the process involved in selection. Before we are going to see the process of selection, let us try to understand basically what is selection. Before going to see the selection definition, first let us understand what is recruitment and what is the difference between recruitment and selection. So, generally, it is considered recruitment and selection both are one and the same, but in fact, recruitment comes first, whereas selection is followed the recruitment. Now, let us see what is recruitment. Recruitment is simply a process of searching for the potential candidates and encouraging them to apply for the jobs. In fact, recruitment is a strategy where it is used to attract potential candidates to apply for the jobs. Different companies are following different types of recruitment strategies to attract the potential candidates to apply for the jobs in their organization. Some of the recruitment strategies where companies are trying to attract the potential candidates is creating good employer branding. Second one, offering different salary structures basing on their performance, that is fast track career growth opportunities and different types of welfare provisions. So recruitment simply is a strategy to attract good candidates to apply for the jobs in the organization. The more number of candidates are applying to a job, the company will have an opportunity to evaluate the candidates and take the best out of many applicants applied. If very less number of candidates are applying, the organization might not get the quality of prospect candidates. Now, when it comes to selection, selection is simply the process of choosing the best candidate with the requisite qualifications, skills, experience, and their fitness to the job. So, selection is simply a process of picking the best candidate who fits to the requirement and job for the organization. A proper selection of a right candidate is always helping the organization to go ahead in future with right direction. So picking a right candidate in a right time is always helping the organization in achieving the results. So the candidate who is properly selected will be retained for a long time. So, so recruitment is coming first and selection will come next. Let us see the general process that is followed in any selection process. So the process of selection is involving the following stages. So it is starting with receiving the applications, scrutiny of applications, and conducting preliminary interview and conducting employment tests, conducting interview, reference check, medical examination, and offering the placement. So, in the first stage, after receiving the applications from the candidates, in the first stage, the scrutiny of applications will happen. In the scrutiny of application stage, the organization will try to eliminate some of the applications that are properly not filled, some of the applications that are not filled as per the specifications, and some of the applications that have ambiguous information, and some of the applications that do not meet the requirements of the job. So in this stage, the organization will try to eliminate all these type of wrong applications or confusing applications. Now, in this case, some of the candidates will be eliminated. The people who are successfully passing through the scrutiny of application stage will enter into preliminary interview stage. Generally, preliminary interview is a stage where it is used to understand the basic aptitude and attitude of the employee towards the job. So, generally, preliminary interview is conducted via telephone or in the form of written test. So, when the company is making for the first time contact with the prospective employee, They will try to understand whether the candidate is really in need of the job or he is in really interested in doing the job. So in this case, whatever basic answers that are given by the prospective employee will be assessed by the organization and decides to continue him for the next rounds or not. On the other side, in the same preliminary interview, some of the organizations are conducting written tests to eliminate some of the candidates. So in preliminary interview, those candidates who are successfully passing, they will enter to the next stage called employment tests. When it comes to employment tests, different jobs will require different types of testing. Moreover, this employment test will clearly provide the information related to employees' knowledge, skills, ability, and attitude towards the job and the requirements of the job. Let us see different types of employment tests that are used by the organizations. So these are the following tests that are used by the organizations to test the candidates. So first test is cognitive ability related to the checking of knowledge or intelligence of the candidate. Generally, written tests are used in this category. Maybe a candidate is checked on the lines of arithmetic, reasoning, logical thinking, and language thinking or language understanding, everything. So written test is generally consisting of arithmetic, reasoning, language, and other areas related to subject. Second type of test is physical ability. Some of the jobs strongly need the physical ability or physical strength from the candidates when compared to cognitive ability. Some of the defense jobs and other police jobs basically require physical ability or physical strength more when compared to cognitive strength. Now, physical ability or physical test will measure strength, endurance, and the muscle movement or capacity of the candidate. Third type of test is to check aptitude of the candidate, whether the individual has the ability to acquire a new skill, because the employee, whoever joins the organization, he or she, they are supposed to continuously upgrade or upskill themselves. If they don't have the ability or aptitude to learn the new things, it's very difficult for them to go ahead in the organizational growth. That's the reason why organizations will try to conduct aptitude tests. Next, very important test that is generally done in the selection test is personality test. What type of basic personality characteristics that are possessed by the individuals? So when it comes to personality tests, some of the testing characteristics may be on whether the candidate is extrovert, introvert, whether the candidate is emotionally stable or unstable, whether he is interested in learning the new things or not, or openness, flexible. So these type of personality characteristics are understood. The reason is, if we take a simple example of extraversion versus introversion, there is always a chances for success when it comes to extroverts. When it comes to introverts, success chances are moving to high level positions is somewhat difficult because they are unable to express whatever it is there in their mind. When it comes to emotional stability, people who are very strong in their emotional holding or emotional balance, they are able to reach high positions or they are able to handle people in the organization. So all successful leaders, they are extroverts and as well as emotionally strong people. Next type of testing is performance based testing. So in this performance based testing, a small task will be given. In the task, how the candidate is going to perform, basing on that, the selection process will be continued. Let us take, if you take a lower division clerk or upper division clerk, a small typing test may be conducted. In that typing test, how the candidate is going to perform is clearly understood. Next, very important test nowadays, most of the HRs or the organizations are looking into, that is honesty or integrity. Honesty by integrity test, generally these type of qualities, they are imbibed directly from the family and the culture they are brought up and the religion they are going to practice. Because when the employee is taken into the job, it is generally expected that they will not share any crucial information or they will not cheat the company where they are working. So, honesty by integrity test is one of the best tests where you can understand the character or conduct of the employee when he is given the powers or the authority. So, if the candidate is going to misuse his powers or authority, definitely there is a question of honesty by integrity in the job. And one more testing is substance abuse testing. So the all the organizations are encouraging drug-free workplace. If the candidate is addicted to the substances, it's very difficult for him to make him to work. And moreover, he will try to be completely absent to the work. And moreover, he may be spoiling other people also. That is the reason why most of the some of the jobs they are conducting substance abuse tests or substance testing to create a drug free workplace. These are the some of the selection tests where they are widely followed or used. After the candidate is successfully qualifying in selection testing process or employment testing process, the candidates will be moved to the next round called interview. So, one of the significant stages as far as any selection process is concerned, that is interview. Interview is simply, it appears to be a very simple process, but in fact, it is a purposeful and goal oriented conversation between two people. That is, interviewer means who is conducting interview, and the interviewee who is attending the interview. So, in the interview process, the interviewer will try to extract the required information for the job and as well as the organization also. Interviewee will try to give the exact information what is expected from the interviewer. So, interview process will try to do two things. One, interviewer will try to identify the best interviewee, and the interviewee will try to get one best opportunity by properly giving the answers in the interview process. Here, the information will be exchanged between interviewer and interviewee related to the interviewee or prospective employee. So we can say it is a purposeful exchange of information between interviewer and interviewee. Now let us see different types of interviews. So different organizations will try to follow different types of interviews or any one or any two of the interviews. So in this slide, we are going to see the basic types of interviews that are used in the interview process. So these are different types of interviews. One is structured interview, second one is unstructured interview, third one stress interview, fourth one panel interview. In structured interview, the questions are already pre-decided. The interviewer will try to ask the questions that are already predefined. Basing on the answers or responses given by the interviewee, the interviewer will try to allocate or assign the marks or score. Basing on the score that is coming in this interview round, the next round will be decided. So in the structured interview, there is no possibility for the interviewer to go beyond the required questioning or required information. He does not have freedom to ask other questions though they are related to the job. When it comes to unstructured interview, here the interviewer will not follow any specific type of format or any specific type of questioning. The interviewer will try to decide what type of question should be asked to the interviewee. But the only problem with unstructured interview is if the interviewer is not up to the mark in the knowledge related to for what type of job is conducting interview, then he may not get the proper information or proper information that is required for the job. If the interviewer is proper and thorough in understanding what type of information is needed from the interviewee, it's very easy for him to get the exact required information. So, in unstructured interview, if the interviewer is very, very strong, he can get wide varieties of information related to the candidate from the candidate related to job and other areas also. So, this is a small difference between structured and unstructured. Third type of interview is stress interview. In this type of interview, the interviewee is stressed, or the candidate who is appearing for the interview is stressed by asking or the targeting emotional quotient or emotional capabilities of a candidate. So the assumption is when a individual is pressurized in that pressurized situation, how he is going to respond, because in the job front there is no hard and fast rule. Every time he will get routine type of work or leisure type of work. Sometime pressurized situations may come in the work. In that situation, how he is going to handle that pressure. So such type of questions will be asked when it comes to stress interview. Last type of interview is panel interview. In panel interview, two or more number of interviewers will be sitting in the panel, and those people will try to ask the questions, and the interviewee is going to answer the questions. So each panelist will try to give his or her score to the interviewee who is attending for the interview. After compiling and consolidating all the scores given by the interviewers or panel members, then the final score will be decided. Once the candidate is successfully passing through this interview round, then the candidate will be moving to the next round called reference check. So, in this reference check, the organization will try to assess whatever information in the form of references or in the form of application blank provided or in the resume provided, whether it is correct or not. The organization will try to cross check from the references mentioned by the candidate. So, the organization will try to ask one or two known people to give a reference, so that the organization will try to contact them and to understand whether the candidate is fit for the job or not, whether he can be taken for the job or not, what type of qualities as a referee he observed from him. These type of questions will be asked. So let us take in the reference check, the candidate is not up to the mark, then there is always a possibility to reject the candidate. Next one, if the candidate is also successfully passing through the reference check, then he is going to attend the medical examination, because medical examination is very important. The reason why medical examination is very important, he has to be fit to perform the work on a regular day. Second thing, if the candidate has any medical problems, continuously he will go on absenteeism, that will kill the productivity. And moreover, when the individual is working for a long time in the office, definitely he has to be physically fit and as well as mentally fit. That is the reason why the organization will ask the candidates to undergo medical examination and submit the medical certificate of fitness. If the candidate is successfully passing through this stage also, finally the organization will try to decide whether to offer placement or not. Even in this round also, the candidate will have a choice to accept the offer letter or not. So these are the stages that are involved in the general process of selection. So let us see what are the stages once again: receiving the applications, scrutiny of applications, preliminary interview, employment test, conducting interview, reference check, medical examination, and offering the placement or placement offer. Though these many stages are involved in selection process, this much of thorough process involved in selection, still there are errors in selection because whenever human beings are involved, definitely there is a possibility of errors. But in this session, we try to cover only the general process or basic process of selection. Apart from this employment test, whatever that are mentioned in the slide, apart from that, nowadays, organizations are going to conduct group discussion as a part of employment test to understand their leadership, initiation skills, and command over language and subject. Finally, let us see the overview of this entire session. So, employees are the crucial part of any organization. If any organization wants to sustain on a long run, the only resource it has to properly manage or utilize optimum is human resources, because human resources will try to add value to the other resources that they have in the organization. If you are going to get the best candidate or high quality talent into your organization, so it is going to make you to achieve huge success in the organization or in the long run. So a strategic and thorough recruitment and selection process is always ensuring the placement of the best employees who can contribute swift organizational success and competitive advantage. So finally, we can say that selecting a right candidate in a right time will help the organization achieve in the long run by applying flexibility in the workplace. So these are the references that are followed. One, Human Resource Management by Praveen Dorai, Pearson Publication House, New Delhi, and Human Resource Management by Gary Destler. So if you have any queries or questions about the content presented or PPT presented, you can leave your queries here. So the form will be there in the description link. So if you have any queries or any questions, so you can apply through these forms. Thank you very much.